Fine.
Chasing the elusive Chinese dollar, whether it's tourism, luxury shopping, real estate, with more and more disposable cash, and for some, an urge to get it out of the country. Chinese consumers are in hot demand the world over. Let's get up to Shanghai, where our Sophia is standing by. Sophia, so much money and so many places in the world to go with it, and yet there are limits to how much you can actually officially take out, so you got to get really creative about it, right?
That's right, Bernie. Definitely trying to get creative to get your money out of China, but that's certainly not stopping a lot of people looking for growth here with the Chinese. I have with me Peggy Fucci, the CEO of One World Properties, a Florida real estate broker, one of the companies looking for growth from the Chinese. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
So I wanted to start by asking you, obviously there's been a lot of capital controls from Beijing, a lot of people having a little bit more trouble moving their money out. How do you see that playing out with the customers that you're trying to attract and having them buy into property in the U.S.?
Sure. That's a great question, and actually is the #1 question for a lot of people when we are saying, well, we continue to market to the Chinese. I don't think that's going to stop the investment. I think that the U.S. real estate will continue to be that safe haven and that the Chinese will always look into. The key is time. I think that it's not a matter if they can get their money out. It's the time that you will give that person or that buyer in order to make that commitment. And that's what we do. We analyze each buyer, and we work with their time in order to be able to achieve that. And other than that, also, there are a lot of families that have diversification all over the world. So it may not be necessarily the money coming from China directly, but it may be other investments in other places that they have that they liquidate and then invest in the U.S.
Now, your company is based in Florida. I understand you specialize in Miami. Why Miami for the Chinese? We've seen in the past a lot of buying in cities like New York and London, Vancouver, Los Angeles. Why Miami, and why now?
Sure. Well, I think that for years, I mean, the top markets, as we all know it, for the Chinese has always been the West Coast, California, San Francisco, Seattle is a great market, New York, of course, all the upper East Coast. And that's what they've known. There's a big population of Chinese there. They feel very comfortable. They can go there, find someone that speaks their language, that they can really trust, and that's what we've seen. But, you know, over the years, I think that the awareness from the Chinese has increased in Florida in general. I think that currently in Florida, there's a huge amount of investments from Orlando all the way to Miami. And why that is, I think the #1 reason is also diversification within the U.S. and price. Price plays a huge component. I mean, Miami right now, Miami is going to be a city where it's played to be the Hong Kong of the West. That's what I see for Miami. We have the same characteristics of Hong Kong does here in Asia. And I think that really resonates with the Chinese. They see that vision. Aside from a lot of big construction companies or big players in China are making investments in Miami, such as Swire with such a big project like Brickell City Center, that really put a lot of emphasis in Miami and curiosity from the Chinese. Also, Miami is growing as a city. It's becoming very sophisticated. It's more global, and it not only becomes a South American now investing also in Miami, but also, you know, we have buyers from every part of the world, and the Chinese are certainly coming, and they've been doing more and more so in the last couple of years.
You know, in the past, with a lot of Chinese buying in other cities, that's pushed prices up on the market, leading to city governments, to authorities trying to put in some curbs to help push prices back down. What are you seeing now? What's the impact in Miami as more Chinese are coming in?
Well, I think that Miami has a lot of growing up to do, and there's still a lot of room for growth in Miami. We feel that with Miami's transformation and all the continued growth from not only the economic side of trading with the expansion of the Panama Canal and everything that's coming in Miami, we think that there's a lot of room for growth and prices in general. I don't think that there's going to be a stop of control at all with that respect. I think that we still see and will continue to see prices in the next 10 years. And I think the real estate game, especially from the Chinese investment into the real estate market, is a long-term play, not just a short-term.
Just one last question for you. President Xi Jinping did visit President Donald Trump in Florida very recently. Has that increased interest among the Chinese?
It's been phenomenal for us. It really has been. I mean, we spent a lot of time used to, showing that, teaching the Chinese about Florida, what it meant, where we were, and all of that. And that really has changed for us. We use that constantly, and I think that just gives a huge credibility to the city and to the area, and the most important thing also is a safety factor. People love, they feel safe, and they felt like if their president was safe and they visited, well, that may be safe and good enough for me. So that's been great.
Thank you. That's all the time we have for today.
Thank you.
Now that was CEO Peggy Fucci with One World Properties, a Florida real estate broker. Back to you.
And thank you so much for that update, Sophia.